Hi there. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Well, yesterday, 4 separate gun control measures were defeated in the Senate. They range from enhancing background checks to closing gun show loopholes to keeping people on terrorist watch lists from purchasing weapons. Were these measures a knee-jerk response to Orlando or indicative of something deeper and more nefarious? Here to explain, it's Fox News senior judicial analyst, Judge Andrew Napolitano. Welcome back, Judge.
Good to be with you, Candy.
It scares me that this is where we're at, because I think both sides have lost a lot of rationalism when it comes to the gun debate and inserting that when we should be talking about terror and motivation and other things.
Well, I agree with you. Your question in the introduction is a terrific one. Is this about making good use of a crisis, or is it evidence of something deeper? The answer is yes to both. The Democrats love to make good use of a crisis. Gun control to them is not about guns, it's about control. It's about controlling the population, and it's about the government controlling the population, a government that they control, a government that can't keep us safe. Look, in all of these modern or recent, in the past 4 or 5 years, mass killings by gun, they all have two things in common. They all occurred in what the government calls gun-free zones, which should be called killing zones, and they all end only when the killer is killed. So
with a gun.
With a gun. The victims never have guns because they obey the laws. The most absurd proposal yesterday was, and it's got a nice, easy rhyming ring to it, no fly, no buy. If you had the patience, I'm going to guess you didn't, because I didn't, to watch all 15 hours of the Senate, Chris Murphy's marathon, he and his colleagues must have said no fly, no buy a couple of dozen times. They mean that if you're on the no fly or terrorist watch list, you can't buy a gun. How do you get on that list?
Who knows?
They can't answer. What are the standards for putting you on that list? Nobody knows.
Speaking of standards, Weekly Standard writer Stephen Hayes was on that list.
Wow.
He was on that list because he went to Turkey with his wife to take a cruise. They started in Turkey, they ended in Greece, they flew home from Greece, they saw a one-way ticket to Turkey, and then it was hello Sally at the TSA.
Late liberal lion Senator Edward M. Kennedy was once on the no-fly list. If a government bureaucrat can take away your freedom in secret with no standards, with no due process, and impair your right to travel, and also impair your right to defend yourself, then these rights, travel and self-defense, are not natural rights. They're privileges to be given out by the government when and how the government wants. And the Supreme Court has said emphatically they're not privileges, they're natural rights.
Yes, restricting freedom of movement for law-abiding citizens.
Correct. So if the government wants to prevent me from giving an incendiary speech, or prevent me from traveling to another country, or prevent me from owning a gun, can it do so? Yes, it has to sue me. It has to bring an action in a court and persuade a jury by a very high standards that I am unworthy of travel, that my speech is dangerous, or that I can't deal with a gun. I don't have to prove that I am worthy of those rights. The government has to prove that I'm unworthy. The proposals yesterday would have turned that on its head.
It's completely circumventing due process, not to mention the Constitution. I guess one of the things that's most worrisome to me is, and you know, we've talked about this on the show, is these blanket reactions to tragedy that allow people to call for things like putting more people on the no-fly list, putting more people on the terror list, and therefore you've got even more people who, for one reason or another, have their constitutional rights infringed upon.
You know, one of the things that judges look at when they're trying to interpret legislation is what the legislators said about it at the time they wrote it. Notable exception was the late, great Justice Antonin Scalia, who said, who cares what they say? They only do everything for one reason, to get reelected. These people, and there are some conservative Republicans in this group, I single out Senator Jeff Flake, who once ran something called the Goldwater Institute, who was a serious defender of individual liberty, becomes a United States senator and has fallen into the big government trap. He's part of this group about the no-fly, no-buy. They are totally disregarding the concept of personal liberty in a free society because they think it will help them to get reelected.
Yeah, exactly right. They sell out. They forget the principles that got them there, and the country suffers. Judge, thank you so much for your wisdom. Always appreciate it. Okay.